Good morning, and once again, welcome to my YouTube channel, Edexcel Pearson International Maths by Mr. Kamotho. And we continue to explain pure mathematics 1 in this video. And I want just to introduce topic number 7, which is radian measure. And we need to understand that so far we have only been able to explain degrees or to explain angles in terms of degrees. And we have also talked about a complete revolution. One complete revolution is equivalent to 360 degrees that we have been able to explain. We are told that we can also measure angles in units called radians. And 1 radian is an angle subtended at the center of a circle by an arc length of 1 radius measure of the circle. What does that mean? So if we happen to have a circle with center O, of course, and that circle has a radius r, it has another radius r. If this arc length is equals to the length of the radius of the circle, meaning that it has that radius, and the arc length of the circle here, is equivalent to 1 radius, then we have 1 radian angle subtended at the center of the circle. Now, having said that, it is therefore important to note the following: that if the circumference of the circle is 2 pi r, that is the circumference of the circle. If you continue to divide by the portions of this arc length to note how many portions of the length r are there in this circumference, then if you divide by r, you will get 2 pi portions, 2 pi of these, each one of them measuring 1 radian. So times 1 radian, and we realize that at the center of the circle we have 2 pi radians. In other words, this means 360 degrees is so much equivalent to 2 pi radians. What does this mean? That 1 degree is equivalent to 2 pi over 360 degrees, which is pi over 180 radians. Pi over 180 radians. If you consider the other way, or this was when we divide everything by 360 degrees, and then we have, if we say 2 pi radian was originally equivalent to 360 degrees, if you divide both sides by 2 pi, you realize that 1 radian is equivalent to 180 over pi degrees. 180 over pi degrees. And this is very important. So we need to bring this here so that we can say that 2 pi is equals to 360 degrees. 1 degree is equals to pi over 180 radians. We can see it. And 1 radian is equivalent to 180 over pi degrees. That is very important. Meaning that if you look at example 1, let's just use this information and explain something to do with example 1. Example 1 on page 134. Convert the following angles into degrees. And we have 7 pi over 8 radians. How do we convert this into degrees? How do we do that? We know very well that 1 radian is equivalent to 180 over pi degrees. And how many radians do we have? 7 pi over 8. So it means that this number of radians need to be multiplied by the degrees equivalent to 1 radian, which is 180 over pi. And of course, you're going to talk about pi and pi goes. And this one is simply going to give us 157.5 degrees, because eventually it's going to be 7 times 180 all over 8, and it's going to be 157.5 degrees. So it is true, 7 pi over 8 radians is equivalent to 157.5 degrees. That is part A. This is example 1, part A. Example 1, part B, it's talking about 4 pi out of 15 radians, or rather 4 pi over 15 radians. How many degrees are these? Again, if 1 radian is equivalent to 180 over pi degrees, then this number of radians, which is 4 pi over 15, we need to multiply by the number of degrees equivalent to 1 radians, which is 180 over pi, giving us pi and pi will go. If you evaluate this, it's eventually going to give you 48 degrees. And that is just what we need to understand as far as that one or that part is concerned. If we look at example 2 in the same video, let us combine the two examples in the same video because they are more or less talking of the same thing. Convert the following angles into radians, and then leave your answer in terms of pi. And then we're talking about 150 degrees. If we go back, we will be able to see that 1 degree is equivalent to pi over 180 radians. And we have 150 degrees. So this one is just a matter of taking 150 degrees, multiplying by number of radians, which is equivalent to 1 degree, which is pi out of 180. And this one simply gives us, this one is just going to give us 5 pi over 6. These are now radians. 5 pi over 6. These are now radians. That is example 2, part A. What about example 2, part B? We have 110 degrees. Again, in the same way, 110 degrees multiplied by the number of radians which are equivalent to 1 degrees, which is pi over 180 degrees. And this one is basically 11 pi out of 18 radians. And that is just like it. So at the end of the day, we can easily convert degrees into radians and radians into degrees, just as easy as we have just been introduced. So, but this square here is very important. Make sure you understand everything in this square. Otherwise, that is the end of example 1 and 2, the first 2 examples in this topic. And I hope you visit my YouTube channel, subscribe, and of course share widely. Again, at Excel Pearson International Maths by Mr. Kamotho, and subscribe and let us work together. All right.